Given that you've been probably in B2B marketing for more years than you care to remember, maybe a good place to start is the changing role of senior marketers within B2B tech companies. They seem to me I've been in marketing for a long, long time, and the role of those senior marketers has changed fundamentally for us in the last few years. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess if I think about the sort of peers to me in the industry today and compare them to the sort of senior guys that I started out working with, I think it's kind of worlds apart. I think a lot of that has been driven by, the rise of the digital experience and digital marketing, and the way in which your customers, even in B2B, interact with your brand, no matter how lowly you are on the B2B kind of scale, how deep B2B you are. And I think what that has meant is that marketers can't sort of hide behind some idea of set processes or timing things that's convenient to them. They have to work very much to how the market behaves, which I also think means that senior marketers have to be a lot more connected with their customers, and therefore probably are what you might call a little bit more hands-on than they have in the past. So, exist in the sort of digital infrastructure, know it, have to experience it, and as a result, are kind of a bit closer to what's going on than, maybe sort of 10 or 15 years ago.
I always remember that the clients that I was dealing with in previous lives, the more senior they got, the more like potentates they became. They kind of moved further and further away from the point of execution. Yeah. They had whole groups of people that they could turn to on. Now, when you walk into a room and you meet a marketer that's a little bit like that, you know that they're probably not at the cutting edge of B2B marketing. And I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the days of senior marketers, some that I used to work with, kind of being in the back of the Mercedes limo type thing and never being accessible even to their employees, I think that's long gone. And
I was constantly amazed, even in the in ancient history time, pre kind of digital marketing, how few of those senior marketers were talking to customers. They knew the names of their customers, had actually spent time with them, asking them questions and so on. Yeah. It feels to me that you're dead if you're not daily on, spending 20, 30% of your time talking to customers and getting out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you see the needs of brands for senior marketers, you might see that in, job ads or headhunter kind of briefs. More and more, you can almost guarantee knowledge of social media, how that works, hands-on experience. And if I think about senior management as a whole, we used to struggle 15 years ago getting, a CEO along to a seminar or a physical event. Now you can't stop them tweeting, right? Mm-hmm. So, they are sort of inherently more connected, than they have been, and as you say, are probably more aware of what's going on with the customers than they ever have.
And what's interesting is those customers are actually appearing in multiple guises. So whilst someone might be the CIO of a particular, an insurance company that might be high on your target list, he or she's probably got another existence as a blogger. Yeah. Or a commenter. Yeah. in other of the social networks.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest myth about B2B is that it's about marketing to businesses. It's about business talking to business, and that's not at all what it's about. Even if you say you're promoting a business value proposition, you're talking to an individual. So everything you're doing is about understanding the persona of the people you talk about. It's about marketing to people rather than to businesses.
What about again, when I first started in marketing, there was always a process, for moving from the kind of concept through to the execution, and that process was essentially linear. Yeah. You investigated, you did some research, you went out and talked to people, you came back with ideas, and you could often find that even though the marketing plan was supposed to start in January, people weren't ready until kind of the end of March because they had these kind of steps to go through. There's something that we're trying to pioneer a little bit in Velocity is this kind of leaner approach to marketing, which is a little bit like the Ruby on Rails development approach, where you kind of start fast, run lean. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we do a similar thing of where I am now at Expedia. I mean, technology businesses as well, from a product perspective, have moved from, big product releases to agile development methodology. So, most companies I've worked in over the last 5 to 6 years are, we're releasing new versions of our products every couple of weeks. And, we work on a 2-week, what I call sprint cycle to get things out to market. So I think as well, a marketer's ability to rely on big launches and, I would say probably 10 years ago, 80% of our effort was thinking about that big product launch and that big conference, and your time was
version 7.9.4.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Pro Edition type release. That's kind of gone away now. So I think that's one thing. I think the way in which we deliver products to market is on an ongoing agile basis, and I think as a marketer, you have to react to that. And of course, then secondly, I think the sorts of infrastructure and tools we use are always on. And it's one of the challenges that our consumers, whether they're business to business or business to consumer, consumers are always on, always connected, are interacting with your brand on a daily, hourly, minute by minute basis, depending on what sort of brand you are, which means that you can't afford to kind of bunch things up into, right, let's do something in Q4, let's do something in summer, and we'll do something in the winter.
So that shift from interruption-based broadcast to much more of a kind of very focused, always-on approach. Does that mean that the audience that it used to be that the audience really cared, your customers really cared about what the vendor said because that was the source of information.
Yes.
Now we're talking about an audience that's probably better informed than your team in lots of ways.
Yeah, and it's one of the things, you really need to think hard about because you can't avoid your existence with your customers. So before you could manage the communication. You would do that through announcements or press releases or mail shots or events. And that's the point at which the information would be known. And the ability for word of mouth to be facilitated was quite limited. But still people would pick up the phone and speak to Bob that they know in the other company and ask them their opinion of your company. But it was a non-scalable, a highly kind of manual process, clearly. I think now your brand exists, and I think I saw Serious Decisions say that 80% of B2B purchases start with some kind of web search.
Google,
So people are looking to an organic search more often than not Google to get the information they need. They're not waiting for the vendor to tell them. And I remember even 5 years ago a CIO saying to me, I used to go to trade shows to get my information. Now, now I just sit at my desk and I get the information pretty quickly. Or indeed, if I want information from a company, I can phone them up and they'll come in, no problem. So there is that kind of thing as well. But brands, have gone from having to think about, okay, let's batch up, let's get the messaging right, let's work on messaging workshops, let's get objection handling sorted, let's work on an FAQ page, let's do that, get 20 journalists in the room and do the briefing there, or let's run an event with 30 people in a breakfast briefing, to understanding that people are looking at their website now, they're looking at their content now, they're looking at forums, they're seeing posts, comments, blogs, opinions now. So you have to be kind of in that and understanding that you're leaving digital footprints everywhere.